how are you? Choo-choo! The good morning train is coming, the good morning train is coming, the good morning train is coming, how are you? Choo-choo! Last week we were in March, and now we are in April. Can you say April? April.
I am the preschool teacher here at the Shinnecock Wenatchee School. I just recently started teaching here. It feels so good. Like, I'm so excited to be able to teach my family, and you know, the dynamics are different and everything. It's so unique here.
And finally, this one? Hello. All right, well, guess what?
We're at circle time.
We're going to play this game, but we're going to practice our numbers in Shinnecock. This one, what number is that one? 1. All right, just Nikat, right? Nikat.
The Shinnecock language has not been spoken fluently for over 100 years.
We're going to count these petals. Ready? All right, we can practice blowing later, okay? I have another game for us with blowing. Cut.
The way that we teach our language in the classes is all oral based. The Shinnecock have never had a written language. We've always passed on our stories and our language orally. So when we have our classes, we just practice by, saying and repeating.
Mata. Little brother. There you go. That's me? What's today? What was saying?
As a tribe, we have improved, but when it comes to our children and our culture and our ability to teach our culture and our traditions, because we are assimilating into the Western world or America, some of our values have gotten lost. It's a big step for us to have an actual educational facility here on the actual reservation. I didn't have that as a kid, so it's exciting for our kids to have it.
So what makes Shinnecock different from the more familiar languages? These were the Indians who were first met by Europeans when the Europeans arrived, mainly English people arrived, and so they were the first to lose their language. The process just started earlier. There would have been no incentive for an Indian who spoke the language to admit to outsiders that they could speak the language, because throughout the United States and other places too, people were punished for speaking the language, and kids sent to boarding schools were punished for speaking their native language.
When I was growing up and going to the public schools, we got our basic education, how to read, how to write. We weren't very exposed to cultures at all. I mean, you learn about the slaves. Maybe you'll learn about Sacagawea. You're learning about when the colonists, the pilgrims came over and started building their homes and things like that. But who came before them? Who was here before they were here? That was us, Shinnecock specifically.
Okay, Halana, can you tell us what bird we learned about last week?
Robin!
Good job!
Good memory.
And the robin, he has a red chest and a brown back. And guess what? For Shinnecock, we have a dance. And it's called the Robin Dance. You guys want to learn the Robin Dance? You'll get a turn with the rattle if you show me you can do the dance first.
As far as educational wise, we didn't really learn about who we are as Native people in, even though it's right there and our reservation is right here in this same town, they still didn't really acknowledge too much, touch too much on our
culture and our history, and when they did, it wasn't really correct. So we had to rely on our parents for that.
Both of my parents are Shinnecock. They were both very much into the culture, and so they brought me up in that way, and it's just a way of life. You know, culture is something that you are either born into and you get to experience, or you learn at a later life, and I was lucky to learn it from birth.
Make sure that we give them the respect that they deserve. Let's give them a nice round of applause for the Shinnecock Nation dancers.
Language and culture, I believe that they're very much intertwined. You know, your language is your culture and your culture is your language. But we've had surveys put out to the community and asked them, you know, to kind of put in order those things that are important to them. And language and culture wasn't at the top. Some of the obstacles that we face when it has come to revitalizing the language and culture have been from within our own community. It's been a struggle to, I guess, get our people to realize the importance of these things. Sometimes a lot of youth don't think it's cool anymore to go to powwow, to dress, to, you know, learn your language. It's difficult to hang on to that grounding when you're exposed to so many different people that are not like you.
Is this color Weesui, friends?
No, it's green.
No. Let's see, who has Weesui? Mason does. Wanigan, can you put Weesui in the middle, please? Siwampy.
Me. Milan has it.
So Milan does. And I think one more person has Siwampy. Who
Nassau.
else? That's right, Nassau has Siwampy. Where'd they go?
He don't have it.
Oh, okay.
You have, say, a preschool, as they're doing in Shinnecock, where you introduce lots of vocabulary in the Shinnecock language, numbers, and they play games, and kids can learn those. Kids can learn dozens or hundreds of words like that. That's not the same as the ability to form sentences and have a conversation and talk about the things that are on your mind in the language. Yet, I feel that that is extremely valuable. Even if you only know a few words and you can insert them in your English conversation, it emphasizes to you that just another group of people who happen to live in this area.
The goal, I think, for all of us as Shinnecock is not to be, you know, we're not going to be able to speak the exact way that our ancestors did, but if we can start to speak, you know, a little bit of how they did, if we can start to practice some of those cultural practices that they did that may be similar but not exactly the same, it's going to help us to view the world in their perspective. And I think that's important because that's important to our identity. That's your connection to the land that you're growing up on, and that's the connection to the family that you're growing up with.
I want to go that way.
All right, friends, let's grab hands. Everybody find a partner.
I want to go that